The descendants of the people of Thule revealed. Today's Arctic inhabitants, the Inuit, meaning humans, are made up of different tribes such as the Ingulik and the Nechilik, and their origins are different. They are said to be the descendants of the peoples of the Thule. The bizarre legends of these Aborigines are a revealing approach to their strange and primitive culture. The strange Eskimos and the myths of the ice. The poem says, "Why didn't Narok come last night? Seals know it, seals know it. And the bear with the big teeth. Why didn't Narok come last night? Water knows it, fish know it. The fish that tell stories, the fish that tell stories with their tails. Water knows it but does not tell it to anyone. Why didn't Narok come last night?" This is what the words of the Inuit song say. The Eskimo countries stretch across vast areas of ice and water, from eastern Siberia all the way across North America and into Greenland. These places are besieged by storms in the heart of winter, and during it they are sunk in the clouds of the gloomy gloom of their sunless skies. The trees are non-existent. The short summers are the seasons of insects, and then the deep gaps of the earth appear as the ice melts. The Arctic can take the form of icebergs floating in the sea east of Canada. Kindly support my Patreon account since YouTube has again demonetized my YouTube channel. The daily posts are 5 videos daily, and they are totally different from what I have on my YouTube channel. Thank you so much for your support and that you find all my content so interesting. You'll find the Patreon account details in the description box below. Icebergs floating in the sea east of Canada and in various parts of Alaska, while off the coast of Greenland, they are transformed into vast layers of ice that cover the whole land and are cut short by deep, enchanting and sea fjords. Today's Arctic inhabitants, the Inuit, meaning people, as most Eskimos call themselves. Eskimo means those who eat raw meat, in the Algonquinian dialect, are made up of various tribes such as the Ingulik and the Nechilik, meaning sea people, seal people, and the origins of each are different. Most of them are descendants of the old Eskimos, or the Dorset tribe, who are supposed to have been dwarfs, and descendants of the Thule people, or Thule people, Thule, who are said to have been giants. The bizarre legends of these Aborigines are a revealing approach to their strange and primitive culture. The world and its creation are intertwined with monsters and scary creatures of nature. Their songs are solitary. These nomads from their distant past, of which we know very little, had to fight and continue to fight against nature for their survival. From their traditions and cults, which reflect their daily lives and their environment, we can conclude that nature can be much more hostile than we humans who live closer to Ecuador know. Closer to the equator, I should say. Their deities are anthropomorphic and monstrous and are not characterized by any meekness. This is, in fact, a common denominator among many Aborigines. From their dialects, we can draw infinite conclusions about their culture. Their words can have multiple meanings, or an object can have many words with different meanings, depending on the use of the object. An example is snow, which has different names depending on its use. The spiritual world of the Inuit is intertwined in the universe in a very strange way, which makes all the creatures of nature double, which have the ability to transform, as we'll see below. Their secret past goes back 10,000 years and maybe more, to times when it is almost pointless to know the conditions of their environment, since we know nothing about their true origins. What we do know about these nomads is that the sea is, for them, the only source of raw materials, with the exception of the ice, which they use in various ways, such as to build their houses, the well-known igloos, and many others. It's said that the Thulans were whalers who could tame a huge riverbed through their umiak, boats made of whaleskin. The sea for these people was always harsh, and it could take back what the sea had given them with her terrifying power. The Inuit, who live off the north coast of Labrador, are descended from the mysterious Thule people, whose origins we do not know exactly, although some archaeologists believe they came to Alaska and the northeastern tip of Asia about 10,000 years ago. This period, for many scholars, was a time of alternating glaciers in the Arctic, which could cause the migration of these nomads. The Dorsets appeared in the eastern Arctic around 2000 BC, and they were dwarfs. This conclusion has probably arisen from the difference in the size of their houses of the people of Thule. Many believe that today's Eskimos are a mixture of these two strange northern tribes. Now, the descendants of the people of Thule revealed. Various archaeologists believe that the people of Thule were inhabitants of the land of the Bering Strait, which was covered by the waters of melting ice at the same time. Others speculate that their movements followed a course that may have been caused by the whale, the seal, and the movements of these prey, so they appeared on the shores of Labrador and the Strait of Belle Isle, where they later came in contact with the Basques around the 16th century. There are records that in the forests of northeast Canada, there were giants that have been described as cannibals, hence anthropomorphic giants who were cannibals. In anthropological psychology, there is a term Wendigo psychosis, which is a disease characterized by a strange desire for human flesh and which has an obvious connection with Wendigo. This is a powerful taboo among members of every tribe. The above disease is justified by the Aborigines in that the patient once secretly tasted of this type of flesh, and since then it's no longer possible for him to resist this desire. Eskimo cults have strong taboos in incest and cannibalism, but for most there is no taboo on death and suicide. This could mean that the self-sacrifice among the members of a group has the meaning of voluntary sacrifice, and it is speculated that due to lack of food, the older members of a tribe can be no longer productive and do such a self-sacrifice. Perhaps in these cases, this type of cannibalism was accepted in the past. The myths of the creation of the Inuit travel us deep into the past, as they themselves often know through their stellar journeys. Through the dead and silver sky, the deity Tulungusak was born. She will show for the first time in Helidoni, who is the earlier deity, how the clay hardens at the bottom of the abyss. The swallow then transforms into a crow that lays false wings and covers its body with wings, and from its forehead grows a beak. The whole vegetation grows from pieces of clay that Koraki has buried in the soil, and in the same way he made everything in the sky when he lived there. Now, Koraki is a Greek word meaning crow. But I see that here, this is what they called that bird. Anyway, humans and animals are also his creations made from the same clay. However, the origin of the first four people seems to have emerged without any superior intervention. So this is their, philosophy of faith, how creation of man came into being. So, and then the crow, locating something beneath that, came out of the cocoons, made companions for them, as well as other human beings to multiply on earth. But the day is coming when the earth, like the sky, cannot accommodate other inhabitants. The trick used by the creatures of this second category, not the ones that came from the cocoons, is to cut a giant monster into pieces, throw it into the sea, and they turn into islands where these creatures can live. Now, what was the origin of these mysterious beings that came from the cocoons, and what happened to their descendants? The deity of the moon is common to all Eskimos. Another common element is that their cults are generally characterized by anthropomorphism. Among the Eskimos of Alaska, the moon is the sovereign of all and the only ruling deity, although she has a sister of lower status. The true anthropomorphic deities were expelled from their community because they committed the worst criminal act, which was incest. And voluntarily she does not, because when she recognized who her night visitor is, she cuts herself and throws herself at him. So she tells him, "Eat these pieces of me if you love me so much." Now the two of them immediately catch fire, and their two flames are launched into the sky. One becomes the moon, and the other becomes the sun. So goes their legend. Now the man on the moon is a master of all natural phenomena. He is the observer of the people. Their evil deeds raise up to him like smoke that smells strongly, and this irritates his eyes and makes him angry. He possesses all the secrets of fertility and can cure infertility by taking infertile women to his home on the moon, and when he returns them, they are then fertile. We could say that it encourages acts that are not proper, because the stay of the dead in the land of the day on the moon is pleasant and desirable by all living beings. God Moon is the protector of the wronged, and so many kidnappings of weak people and children to endow them with strength and courage. When the moon disappears from the sky, it's said that it has gone to transport the souls of the dead back to earth so that they can begin a new life, and can often return in the form of animals. So this is reincarnation into animals, as we find, of course, in the philosophy and faith of Hindus. The lonely traveler who finds himself staring at the moon will suddenly realize that it is starting to approach him. In just a moment, a man appears on a sleigh. The sleigh is pulled by 4 black-headed dogs, and they will carry anyone they meet, willingly or unwillingly, back to the moon. There the visitor will pass through the double house of God Moon and Goddess of the Sun, because they live together in parallel spaces. So goes their legend. The intense light comes out of the house of the Sun Goddess. Behind and beyond the house of the gods lies the village inhabited by the dead, where they have various activities, but they always come to welcome the live visitors. The house of the moon offers food if the visitor wants, but if he eats from this food, he can forget everything he has left behind on earth. In the time of the Big Crow, the old Arctic people and the people of Alaska believed that all living creatures had a dual nature, so they could take the form of an animal or a human being by putting on a mask or a similar clothing. The word Inuk means man, and the word Inua means his man, which is the possessive and requires an object, because one is the Inua of a person or thing. It is the double with the human face, and it is hidden inside every animal, element, or natural phenomenon. The deity of sea creatures has different names depending on the region, but the most famous of all is Sedna. Some traditions consider her against marriage, and others want her to mate with strange creatures or objects. These horrible contacts with other beings supposedly produce hybrid humans, races on planet Earth, a phrase that describes this as one who did not want to get married. The descendants of the people of Thule revealed. The story began with a journey she made with her father, who has only one eye and only one hand. With his right hand, he has only 3 fingers. He can catch the dead, and usually his encounter with someone alive means death. He threw the Sedna from the ship into the sea. In fact, in order to get rid of her, he removed her fingers while she was hooked with them to escape. Thus were created all the sea creatures from her severed fingers, so the legend goes. Sedna sank into the depths of the sea and now rules all these creatures that live down there. Its awful appearance could instantly cause death to any common man who dared to look at it, and only shamans or magicians could bear it. Massive and greedy, she moves watching with one eye. She has only one eye left. The sea creatures, always ready to go wild. Where her right eye should be, there are black hairs. The sins of the people descend to the bottom of the sea and fall into her tangled black hair like an abominable liquid, which makes her look even more horrible. Sedna has several assistants, sometimes a dwarf, sometimes her father, sometimes a small child. She shares her husband with a woman without arms, who according to many traditions is a sea scorpion, and others a dog similar to Kerberos of ancient Greece. People infuriate her by violating the laws of nature. For example, when a woman has an abortion, Sedna is sure to punish her directly because she believes that the mistake is not in the act but in the secrecy of the act. Hunters can make equally big mistakes that endanger the well-being of animals by not killing them properly and generally by breaking the rules. And when that happens, Sedna feels more than just anger. She feels real pain in the limbs from where the sea creatures are separated from her body. The descendants of the people of Thule revealed, the first wizards among the Eskimos appeared in a time of famine and food shortage, which forced the Angekok, meaning wizard, or shaman, to dive to the source of the food and bring people back from there. Food for them. On this journey, the Angekok faced many obstacles. One of these obstacles is the moving stones, boulders that spread all over the seabed. The more prestige a magician had, the easier his journey was. At the gate of Sedna's house, she meets Kerberos, who, as we said in some traditions, is her dog man who guards the gate. A little later, she will meet her father, who will also have to approve the uninvited guest. And when he meets the deity, the magician must know how to deal with it, because sometimes he has to be aggressive and violent, and other times he has to be kind to her. And in the first case, unblock and clean her tangled hair from the abominable dirty liquids that have fallen on her from the mistakes of the people. And so the people of the Thules had to calm her down with apologies and remorse for their mistakes, hoping she will forgive them. But many times Sedna is uncompromising. And then as soon as she is given the opportunity, she grabs with her hook the hat that she has with her and drags her to the surface of the sea to first force her to accept his terms in order to set her free. To free the creatures she keeps locked up in her house, the magician is often forced to cut off her fingers again. Her abode is also a purgatory for the dead. Their stay there prepares these souls for the beautiful land of the moon, to which they will then go to dwell. Only the souls of the dead who experienced a violent death and some privileged ones pass to the land of the moon without first going through the purifying abode. The woman of the sea that we find in some Inuit traditions is the coupling of Sedna and the moon, and this is not at all strange, knowing the influences that the moon has on the sea waters, the tides that is. The two elements of water and the moon are united in a feminine deity. The fertility that the moon represents and the food source that is water are sacred elements for the Eskimos. Women who are pregnant or menstruating are not allowed to come near a sacred site where there is plenty of seal and salmon. The sanctuary, which is usually a hole in the icy surface, is ritually treated by fishermen. For example, any fish caught should be placed in a circle next to this hole, with their heads facing the circle. In this way, he will ensure the continuation of the good luck he had until then. The lone fisherman can spend many hours over the hole in the ice, waiting for his prey, and throughout the wait in the icy desert, where his fins are cloudy in the icy air, you will hear him sing. The melodic words of the complaint about this waiting are still echoed in these distant places in the times. There, in the vast icy areas, a passerby would be the strangest and most unexpected, but as we imagine it, it must be a place similar to the land of the moon. So it seems that the Inuit Eskimos, the descendants of the Thule people, believe that their paradise is to be found on the moon. This is translated for you from a Greek article. Please leave your comments and thank you for your support.